Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Shnarpanamastu Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Janavallabhaya Swaha Hari 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 Narayana Hari Hari Krishna Hare Krishna Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hope you remember that we stopped where Vidura, spending some time with his brother Dhritarasthra in his palace and trying to explain to him what is happening and how he should prepare himself to go because he's already old. So, we will continue for the next session and then come to the demise of Krishna and so on from this world. Something is not okay. Okay. Now I know what is not okay. Without proper base, you can't do anything. So Vidura, after spending a reasonable number of days in Hastinapura, realized that time was running short and he should not waste any more time. Now why? Because Dhritarashtra is waiting to leave the body. There is no time. Any time it can come. So he said, let's get prepared. But the funny thing is, every one of us is in the same state. Nobody knows when this messenger comes. We used to repeat that so many times, but nobody much cares about it. Then COVID came and everybody realized. Here today and gone tomorrow. So this is not Dhritarashtra's last days. Every human being knowing that any day could be the last day should think like Dhritarashtra. And it's a joyous occasion. Going is not such a painful thing. If you know how to go, it's a joyous going. In this, since we are talking about going, please I will cover the Bhagavat as much as we, don't worry. I'm reminded of a story of a great bhakta in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sampradaya, be it Gaudiya Math or ISKCON, whatever, which has come from it. Before they start the kirtan, there's one sentence which is added, Namacharya Haridas Prabhu ki jai ho. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Namacharya Sri Haridas Maharaj ki jai ho. Then they start the kirtan. This Haridas Maharaj, not the Haridas ji who was here, जिनके सामने भगवान प्रकट हुए थे, जो मंदिर है वहाँ बांके बिहारी, not that. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. This Haridas Prabhu was older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was wandering around Mayapur, already singing the kirtans of Krishna. He was oldish, he was older than him. When he came across Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a young man, and he accepted him as his guru. Now, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Orissa, If you go to Puri, you will find a place called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Baitak. 24 years or 22 years, he was there. He passed away also there. Nobody knows. It is quite mysterious. But he entered the temple and never came back. 22 years or so he lived there. You can still see the Baitak. And every morning procedure for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to go early morning to the temple. Can you hear me? Or is it going off? Okay. To the Jagannath temple, offer his vandana, sing the kirtana, do pada sevana, and in ecstasy come out. When he came out, he was in ecstasy, so he didn't know where he was going. People had to take him out. Most people used to go with him into the temple. There was one problem. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jagannath Puri, Haridas Swami decided to also shift there. He said, what is this? When he is not here, why am I living here in Mayapur? So he went off. Now near the other end of the Dwaraka, there's a small place, it's still maintained, I think by ISKCON or Gaudiya Math, I'm not sure. He built a little kutir there and settled down. And whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went in the morning for his usual visit to Puri Jagannath, Haridas Prabhu also went with him, but he could not enter the temple. Why? Because he was born a Muslim. Haridas Prabhu did not want to break any rules. It said not allowed, so he stayed out. From the flag, Dhwaja, Stamba, there is a place called Patita Pavan. So from outside, he did his prostrations and then accompanied Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, after some years, one day, for many days, Chaitanya was seeing that Haridas is not there. Where has he gone? Though somebody, because he expected to see him when he came out of the temple. Because when he touched Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, I am touching Jagannath. So he inquired, and they said, he is not well. He is very sick, he is lying down. He is on the verge of death. But he is refusing to let his soul go. He is lying there, refusing to let his soul go. Because he says, I won't go until Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes here, then I will leave my soul. I am holding it. So much so that he was worried and afraid of even saying Hari Hari, because he thought Hari will take him away. So when he heard this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went from the temple to the kutir, and Haridas Prabhu was lying down. He went to him, sat down on a stool and said, what is the matter? He said, no, Hari is calling. How can I go without seeing you? So I am not allowed my soul to go. I am holding it. So Chaitanya said, what am I supposed to do? He said, put your feet on my chest. He said, I cannot do that. I can't put my feet on your chest. I cannot do that. 3 times he said, I cannot do that. Then Haridas Prabhu said, then I am not leaving. I have to go. Finally he agreed. And he put his feet lightly on his chest. And Haridas Prabhu said, Hari, Hari, went off. So this going off we were discussing. So how pleasantly and how happily Haridas Prabhu went. No worries. So anyway, so Vidura, after spending a reasonable number of days in Hastina, realized that time was running short and he should not waste any more time. He had to do what he had come to do. He spoke to Dhritarasthra, his brother, one day, and he said, "My beloved brother, you have never listened to the words of advice. I was speaking to you all these days, but this once please listen to me. Leave the city and go to the forest." Leave the city and go to the forest. My Lord, please abandon all these comforts. Go far away from the city to the forest. This is my advice. Dhritarashtra turned his unseeing eyes on his brother. He is blind. As if to say, I do not understand what you say. Tell me why I should go to the forest at this old age? Helpless as I am with this infirmity, I am blind. Explain to me why I should go. I know there must be a reason behind this suggestion of yours, Vidura. Why do you ask me to go away? Vidura spoke in a gentle and persuasive voice. He said, dread, Kala, time is coming fast towards us. There is nothing that can withstand its power. No word can coax it to go back. Death is very near. When the hand of Kala is touching you, you have to give up this life which is very dear to you. What then can you say about your bungalows and things? Wealth, kinsmen, power, what can all these things do when death draws near? Let me speak candidly about some home truths. You have no one whom you can call yours, actually. Your father, your brother, your friends, your sons are all gone, buried in the depth of oblivion. As for your body, old age has swallowed almost all of it. Your sons were killed by Bhima, and it is food given by that Bhima which you are now eating. Surely life is very dear to you if you are prepared to undergo such humiliation. This life of yours, my dear brother, is allowed to you out of sufferance. Nobody really cares for you. You tried to kill the Pandavas in the house of lac. You tried to kill Bhima by mixing poison with his food. You insulted them and their queen in the court. You stole from them their wealth and their kingdom. And yet they have granted you this life. You live so happily in the palace. Or so you think. What is the use of living in such ignominy, my brother? Even if you are unwilling to relinquish this life and these comforts, death is not going to spare you. Whether you like it or not, this body of yours is growing old with age like a garment which has been used constantly. Ponder on this truth for a moment. Be brave for a change. A brave one is one who, having abandoned his wealth, his kin, his kith, his sons and family, goes away in secret to the forest and sheds his human frame. This vairagya may come to him of its own accord, or he may adopt it after being told about it. But a man who has the strength of mind to take to this course spends the rest of his time in a kutir in the forest thinking of the Lord all the time. Such a one is a prince among men. It is easy enough to be brave when one is young. But the really brave one is the one who feels the approach of death and is prepared to shed his body without any regret whatsoever. Forget the city of pain, brother. Get up and go towards the north, the path to heaven. North could be physical, north could be up. Down below is south and up above is north, if you put the compass this way. Dhritarasthra was silent for a long time. For the first time in his life, he considered the advice of Vidura without protesting. Night had passed, the second yama. Dhritarasthra got up from his bed and told what he had decided to do to his queen. The great Gandhari, who came from Gandhar, who had tied up her eyes with a silken scarf on the day she was married, since she did not want to see the world which he could not see. She spoke not a word. Imagine somebody tying a blindfold because the husband cannot see the world. So, would she argue? No. She didn't speak a word. Quietly she came and stood by his side. Accompanied by Vidura, the old couple left the palace. Nobody knew about it. No chariot, no guards, they just quietly left in the night. Early in the morning, Yudhishthira woke up from sleep. He performed his morning ablutions, the worship of the household god and other daily rituals, and then went to the apartments to bow down before the elders, Dhritarasthra and Gandhari. This was his daily ritual. He looked around and he could not find them. He did not find Vidura also. He searched everywhere and could not find them. At the doorway of these apartments, he found Sanjaya, his secretary, looking as distracted and woebegone as himself. He asked him, "Where are the elders?" Sanjaya could not speak a word. Yudhishthira said, "Sanjay, where are they? Where are my uncles and where is my aunt? Have they gone away without telling me? Were they insulted by anybody? Or unable to bear the pain of losing their sons? They have jumped into the Ganga and killed themselves. Please say something." Sanjay wiped his eyes, which were filled with tears, and said, "I really do not know what happened. They did not tell me that they were planning to do anything. I have been deceived by them and by Vidura also." When he was so distracted by this calamity, Yudhishthira saw the sage Narada along with his Tampura come to see him. Whenever something happens, Narada is there. Good man. He hurried to his presence, and after honoring him properly, he spoke to them and said, "Please forgive me if I seem preoccupied. I am greatly upset by the disappearance of my parents." He calls him his parents. "I am sunk in woe. It's up to you to comfort me and tell me what all this means. Yudhishthira said to Narada. Narada said, grieve not, Yudhishthira, for anyone. Forget about your parents, grieve not for anyone. This world is entirely in the hands of the Lord. He is the one who brings people together, makes them live together for a while and then parts them forever. Consider the bullock. The master pierces its nostrils and threads a rope through it. He then loads the back of the animal with a burden it has to carry. The bullock has to move in the direction in which the master pulls the rope. And it has to carry the burden which the master has put on him. He has no choice in the matter. Dharma, brahmacharya, brahmanya, these are the rules of conduct, that are the ropes. What are these? Dharma, brahmacharya and brahmanya. Brahmanya means living in purity. Propelled by them, man carries to the home of the Lord the burdens imposed on him. No one is free to do as he pleases, though he thinks he can. When a child plays with toys, he brings a few of them together, plays with them for a while, separates them. Consider the essential truth about the life of every human being. The human body is impermanent, as you know, and the Atman is imperishable. So whoever said the Bhagavat is just about Gopika Jivana Smaranam. This is all Bhagavatam. The body is impermanent, as you know. Even Vedanta is taught in the Bhagavat. And the Atman is imperishable. Considered either way, there is no cause to move. Disappearance of elders, they all go. Do you think they will be helpless because you are not there to take care of them? Forget this delusion. This body, which is the conglomeration of 5 elements, is governed only by time. Kala, karma and swabhava. Nothing else is able to protect it or to destroy. So Yudhishthira, listen to me carefully. The Lord has taken a name and a form and has been born on this earth to destroy evil. His work is ended. You will remain on this earth only as long as he does. As for your uncles, Dhritarasthra has now reached the ashramas of the rishis. The river Ganga, when she descended to the earth, divided herself into 7 streams, and that spot is called Saptasrotas. On the banks of that holy lake, your uncle is now spending his time preparing to leave. 5 days from today, he will find release from this human bondage. His body, as well as his queen's Gandhari, will be burned to ashes in the ashrama. Having witnessed this, your uncle Vidura will travel towards the tirthas once again. And when he reaches Badrika ashrama, he will also shed his body. Remember all that I have said and abandon this grief. Saying that, Narada strummed on his tampura, said Narayana, Narayana, and went. He came only to say that. That would be nice. What a life. Oh, you don't need a tampura, you can have a guitar. Now, section 14. Arjuna comes back from Dwaraka. Arjuna had gone to Dwaraka to visit his friend. Yudhishthira's mind was upset by the recent happenings. To an extent, Narada's words had comforted him. But the evil signs that persisted in the skies and the general uneasiness in his mind indicated to him the dread advent of some great calamity. He could not rest. Narada had said, "The Lord has taken a human form to suppress evil and his work is ended. You will remain on this earth only as long as he remains." These words had made Yudhishthira worry day and night. And again Arjuna, who had gone with Krishna, had not come back. The only fellow who went with Krishna when he came to visit, he has not come back. Several months had passed since this. Yudhishthira was telling Bhima about his misgivings. He said to Bhima, "I am greatly worried. Ever since Narada told us that the Lord whose purpose has been served is ready to lay down the human form that is assumed, like an actor taking off his clothes, he had donned for this role the clothes which he has now taken off. He was playing, my mind is full of fear." Do you think, is it possible that Krishna is gone, has to go? Just our Krishna. Krishna, who has been everything to us, do you think he will leave us and go away? I am afraid, very much afraid, that this is to happen and very soon. Look at the sudden change for the worse on the face of the earth. People are getting to be more and more inclined towards adharma. Anger, avarice and untruth seems to be holding sway in the minds of human beings. People are becoming hypocrites, and their natural love for their father and mother and elders is fast on the wane. There are many old age homes in India also. I am very much afraid that Kali, the fourth quarter, has set foot on the earth, and Mother Earth has lost the glory which was hers for all these years since the sacred feet of Krishna no longer adorn her. Bhima, I am afraid. Arjuna came back from Dwaraka. As soon as this was over, Arjuna came back. He walked with slow and weary steps towards his brother. His eyes were raining tears and his face was bent towards the ground. It had no glow on it. He went straight to the king, fell at his feet and held on at his feet without getting up. Yudhishthira was trembling all over, and his heart would not beat normally. His voice was trembling too as he raised Arjuna up and asked, "Arjuna, what has happened? Are you not well? Or is your mind unwell because of some pain? What is the matter? Is everyone well at Dwaraka?" Hesitantly he asked, "Tell me, how is our beloved Krishna?" Didn't want to hear what was coming. Arjuna was standing silent. His face, like his heart, was drained of all joy, and wiping his eyes with both his hands, he just stood. His mind went to his beloved Krishna, and his voice choked with tears. He said, "We have been cheated." Said, "We have been cheated, my Lord. We have been deceived by fate. There is no Krishna in Dwaraka. Why? There is no Dwaraka. And he fell down in a dead faint. Arjuna, the great warrior, to fall down in a dead faint is unheard of. When they brought him back to consciousness, Arjuna composed himself and told them how all the Yadavas had been killed and how no trace of them was left anymore on the earth, how the city itself went under the sea after the death of Krishna. They gave him time to gather his scattered senses, and they needed time to digest this terrible news. Bit by bit, they got all the details of the tragedy at Prabhasa. Even as he was recounting the glories of Krishna, Arjuna found a strange sense of peace pervading his being. His mind became clear and calm, and there came to him a sense of detachment. Incessant thinking on the feet of the Lord had cleared his mind of all agitations. Years back, Krishna had taught him the Brahma Vidya. Where? In the Bhagavad Gita. Now, and perhaps only now, after all these years, Arjuna finally found that he had understood what Krishna was trying to tell him. Not after having listened to the Gita long ago. He knew how the sorrow is caused by the illusion of plurality, the feeling that the jiva is other than the Paramatma. The reason for this plurality is the human body, which is made up of elements. And the other cause is the combination of the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamo guna. Avidya, ignorance of the truth, is the basis of this plurality. When avidya is destroyed by comprehension of reality, all the other things vanish of their own accord. Yudhishthira became silent after the tragedy hit him. What had happened to Dwaraka only confirmed his worst fears, and his mind had already been anticipating the news of the end of Krishna. Ever since Narada came and went, Yudhishthira had lost his peace of mind, and now he realized that his mind was still, without any agitations. He remembered what Narada had told him. You will remain on this earth only as long as Krishna does. Yudhishthira's thoughts were now bent on the other world. Over all drama. The moment Kunti heard about the death of Krishna, she didn't have to think like Yudhishthira. She dropped dead. And the soul which was ever thinking on him became one with him. Calmly, Yudhishthira made preparations for the final journey. He crowned Parikshit as the new king. We talked about Parikshit. So Parikshit became the monarch. Now Parikshit is the connection to the Bhagavat. Yudhishthira then gave away all his wealth and his personal belongings. In the Bhagavat you'll see great kings, great teachers, great rishis. In the end, they give everything away and disappear into the forest. Nice to do that. Dressed in barks, with his hair matted, he walked out of the palace. He looked like one demented. He looked like a madman. So devoid of all expression was his face. He spoke to no one, not even to his brothers Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva, what do you think they will do? They followed him. With their minds bent on the feet of the Lord, they traveled northwards and reached Badrinarayan. And from there they were lifted up to the higher realms. I don't know, something lifted them up, taken away from the earth. Now comes the 15th section, which is connected to this in a different way. This is the beginning of the actual description of Kali Yuga and where the recital of the Bhagavatam starts. When Parikshit was born, Daumya and Kripa had cast his horoscope. They told Yudhishthira that the child had a glorious future. He will be like Ikshvaku, the son of Manu, they said. He will honor the Brahmins and he will speak the truth like Rama, the son of Dasharatha. Like Shibi, he will be a giver, and as for his glory and fame, he will spread to the four quarters like that of Bharata, the son of Dushyanta. In archery, he will be as great as Arjuna and Kartavirya. He will be as stately as the Himavan and as patient as the Mother Earth. His courage will be that of Bali, and his devotion of Narayana will equal that of anybody? Prahlada. He will perform the Ashwamedha and he will learn the Brahma Vidya from Sukadeva, the illustrious son of Vyasa. His name will be remembered on the earth as long as the sun and the moon move in their orbits. They are still moving in the orbit and we are still remembering him. After he was crowned, Parikshit justified the words of the rishis. We ruled his kingdom just as well as Yudhishthira had done. He married Airavati, the daughter of Uttara Kumara, and Janmajaya was his eldest son. His eldest son was Janmajaya. On the banks of the river Ganga, he performed the Ashwamedha Yaga. There was great pain in the heart of the king, since he saw the influence of adharma and Kali increasing day by day. He wanted to fight with Kali, being the king, destroy Kali and restore to the earth her past glory and beauty, just as when his grandfather had ruled earth. Once, on the banks of the Saraswati, it's a beautiful story. Once on the banks of the Saraswati, a bull was talking to a cow. Don't think they don't talk, okay? We don't know their language. They also talk. The banks of the Saraswati river, a bull was talking to a cow. The cow looked emaciated and looked like she had lost her calf. Tears were flowing from her eyes. The bull was also maimed. He was limping on just one leg. So he went near and said, "Why are you weeping? Why do you look so despondent? You look sick, my dear. It seems to me, is it a malice of the mind? I can see that some intense pain is gnawing at your vitals. Are you mourning the loss of someone very dear to you? Are you weeping because you cannot bear to see me with 3 legs broken?" The bull is asking the cow, is it because my three legs are broken? Or is there some hidden grief that you carry? Why are you weeping like this? Are you weeping because low quality people who have no traits of the Kshatriyas will rule you in the days to come? Are you sorry for the Devas who will be denied their share of the Havish in the Yajnas, since Yajnas will not be performed anymore? O Mother Earth, are you sad because Indra will not wet you with rain hereafter and there is famine and drought coming? Are you sad about the decay of Dharma? Are you dreading the future when men will no longer protect the women? That's also a dharma. If men do not protect women, now we don't have to worry, the women will protect the men. So, are you dreading the future when men will no longer protect the women? When parents will not be respected by their children? Are you sad because Goddess Saraswati will have to live in the homes of sinful Brahmins? Or because the high-born will do menial service to their inferiors? Or are you mourning the fate of mankind which will be so immersed in sin and gratification of the senses that they will never think of the Lord even once? I know why you are sad. The Lord has been with you and He removed the burden which was choking you. He destroyed adharma and relieved you. And then He went away. With that, I am sure this is the cause of your unhappiness. Time, the arch enemy of all, has stolen your glory, and pain in your heart is because of the thoughts of the future. Am I right? Now the cow happens to be the earth. The earth raised her tear-filled eyes to the bull and said, Lord, Dharma. So the bull is Dharma. The bull is the Lord of Dharma, and the cow is the earth. The earth raised her tear-filled eyes to the bull and said, Lord Dharma, you know only too well what lies behind this pain of mine. Your questions only serve to make my wounds bleed anew. The Lord has left me, and I am pining for Him. The moment He went away, righteousness left me, and with it all the noble qualities for which have been the home for all these years. I am mourning for you and all that you once stood for. The Lord, who was the home of all that is beautiful, good and pure, has left me, and I am dreading the progress of Kali. In the form of Krishna, the Lord has placed His dear feet on me, and He had walked on me. I was so beautiful then, because He had sanctified me. I had become proud, perhaps, of my good fortune. To punish me, I think He has left the earth, and I do not know what I should do. The memory of those glorious days makes me weep all the more, because I weep in vain. To me, no, the Bhagavad reads better than Shakespeare. Maybe somebody copied little bit. Who knows? Anyway. As they were thus engaged in the dialogue, out of nowhere, a man came who was dressed in the garments of a Kshatriya, but his face did not look like a Kshatriya. He began to harass them. With a stick, he was trying to break the one remaining leg of the bull. Now, Dharma is standing on only one, all the three legs have gone. And this fellow is trying to take out that foot also. Okay. King Parikshit, who was coming near the place in a chariot, saw this terrible scene and hurried to the spot. He had his bow in his hand and his other hand was already in the quiver picking out an arrow. The sight of the cow brought tears to his eyes. In a terrible voice, he addressed the assailant and said, "How can you behave like this? How is it possible for such injustice to take place in my kingdom? In the land which was once ruled by the great Yudhishthira, how could you pluck up courage enough to commit this atrocity when I am the king?" Comforted the cow. The bull said, "Whoever you may be, you are rid of this sinner who has been harassing you. I am going to kill him. Be rid of your fears. Poor bull, tell me, who cut off your other legs?" Dharma looked at him and said, "It is but befitting that a scion of the great Kuru house should speak thus. You are the descendant of those great men for whom the Lord himself took up the role of a messenger of peace and a charioteer. As for our condition, we do not really know who is responsible for this. When I look around me, I become faint with the many forms of dharma which people talk about. There are the atheists who say man himself is the master of his fate. The gods have neither the power nor the right to influence the lives of men on earth. Nothing governs man except his ego. There are some others who ascribe everything to the 9 planets. This I know many people. Grahas. Even if they have loose motion, they go to an astrologer. There are some others who ascribe everything to the 9 planets, the grahas. They say that fate and grahachara are synonymous. Some others talk about karma and say that karma is what matters. Karma it is which is responsible for everything. And again there are those who say that one's good or bad fortune is the consequence of one's own nature, swabhava. We know all this, right? What? You said yes. There are still a few, very few, however, who maintain that there is a God who is beyond the ken of human thought and that he is responsible for everything. Consider, O king, all these views and you should make up your mind as to who is responsible for the state of affairs. They have only one leg left. All the 3 of them are gone. As for me, I don't know. Dharma is asking Parikshit. The king considered his words for a moment and spoke with a smile. He said, the Shastras say that the Naraka, the hell which is waiting for the perpetrator of adharma, is also meant for him who mentions the name of the wrongdoer. You're not even supposed to say who. Then also you will go to Naraka. A truly righteous person will never betray even the name of a sinner. You speak words befitting a person who knows all about Dharma. The more I think on it, the more I am convinced that you are Dharma himself and no one else. So don't pretend. Only you can trace so vividly the dearth of purity on earth. It has been said that tapasya, penance, cleanliness, saucha, compassion, daya, and truth, satya, are the four legs of Dharma. The four legs of the bull of Dharma are tapas, penance, cleanliness, compassion, and satya, truth. These are the four legs now which have gone. Only one is left. Pride is responsible for the destruction of tapasya. Sometimes even in sadhana, when we are going up and feeling that we are going up, we feel that we are great tapasvi. And it becomes a big pride and a bondage. Seriously. When I was a young man, one day I told Babaji, Maheshwarnath Babaji, I want to do intense tapasya. So he said, Kya matlab? What do you mean? I said, I want to stay for 1 month standing on one foot. No water to drink, no food to eat. This kind of tapasya I want to do because I am in a hurry, I need to see the Supreme. He said 2 problems. One is never be in a hurry. 2, you are living in Kali Yuga. This is not Dwapara Yuga, Krita Yuga, where people stood and did tapasya. He said, you can't. You will not be able to do it. It's not possible. And I am there with you, so what tapasya do you need? I said, no. I have to do this tapasya. He said, okay. Karo. Then he said, you know what will happen? If a goat watching an elephant shit tries to imitate it, I said, what will happen? He said, पीछे फट जाएगा और कुछ नहीं. He said, you'll only tear your ass, nothing else. So I said, okay, Baba. So in our sampradaya we said, Adesha. So pride. I was so proud, I thought at that time, one more step, 1 month and I'm... That is what destroys tapasya actually, instead of increasing the... Then, smaya, indulgence, destroys saucha, cleanliness. It's not talking about just physical cleanliness, mind. Constant indulgence destroys the cleanliness of mind. And the other 2 are destroyed by arrogance. I am so and so, I can do this, I am greater than anybody else. The arrogance. In Kali Yuga, man can be said to practice dharma only by the observance of truth. That is the one leg on which you are standing now. All the other three have gone. Truth. This Kali is trying to kill truth and replace it with untruth. I know why Mother Earth is weeping. She is comparing the golden age when the Lord walked on the earth with the days to come when sinners will rule over. But be without fear. I am going to finish off Kali. The king dropped his bow and taking up a sword in his hand, he rushed towards Kali. So Parikshit said, better to destroy this Kali before he destroys even one leg on which dharma is now standing. The truth. Satyameva jayate. Find it in all offices. Don't pay bribes. Satyameva jayate. Truth alone triumphs. That is the only leg on which dharma is standing. The king dropped his bow, took up his sword in his hand and rushed towards Kali. Then what happened? Kali shed his disguise and dropped at the feet of the king and begged for mercy. He said, please, I am standing. I am at your mercy. I may be adharma and Kali, but please spare me. Parikshit said, you know that I will not hurt you because we Kshatriyas have a code of conduct. We don't kill anybody who falls at our feet. I have been born in the family of Arjuna and I will not hurt a suppliant. But you are a dear kinsman of adharma. So I command you that you should no longer be here. You should not exist in the country where I rule. I cannot tolerate your presence. Once you are given a chance to stay, your many companions will join you. Avarice, untruth, theft, unrighteousness, hypocrisy, quarrelsomeness, and in short, all that is ugly and hateful will gather around you if I allow you to stay. I do not want any of you in my kingdom. Trembling with fear, because Kali thought my end is coming. Trembling with fear, Kali said, my Lord, the entire earth is ruled by you, so where can I go? God who created good has also created evil, which is but a shadow of good. See, nice argument from Adharma's argument. We hear it every day actually. The entire earth is God who has created good has also created evil, which is but a shadow of the good. I have to exist somewhere. Since I have been created, I have to exist somewhere. Tell me where I should go and I will obey. Don't kill me. I will disappear from you. King thought over his words and said, what you say is right. You can go and thrive where the name of the Lord is almost and always forgotten. Go there. When nobody remembers God, go to such a place. I don't want to see. So where should I go? Said Adharma. Said, go to places where there is gambling, where there is drinking, where there is lustfulness and the desire to kill. Go there. Kali said, point out to me a single spot where all these are present. Because he can't go here. I will go there. Gold, said the king. Wealth, said the king, will propagate avarice, untruth, arrogance, lustfulness, ruthlessness, hatred. These five will be the places to you. And so, gold will be the place where you will be allowed to live. We shut down all the jewelry shops in Kerala. So, Kali went away from there to the places mentioned. That is why the wise say that Kamini and Kanchana are the two dread enemies which are lying in wait to destroy human beings. The words spoken by Kali are worth studying. He says that he is also created by the Lord, and so there is a purpose behind this creation also. Kali is made to live in places where thoughts of the Lord are absent. The Lord himself is forgotten. True enough. But as Kunti said, give us misfortunes all the time so that we may think of you. Man is lost in the enjoyment of worldly pleasures. If he is a success, he ascribes it to himself and not to his good fortune. Never. However, if and when trouble comes, when man is in distress, then the mind becomes pliable. Suffering melts the hardened core of the ego. When something is achieved, the ego comes forward and takes credit. But when there is failure, the ego must necessarily be pushed backward, and humility makes its appearance. The ego surrenders itself completely, admitting defeat, and the Lord, who is present in the heart always, has been hidden by Avarana and shines resplendent. It is when one is in trouble that the thoughts of the Lord come to the mind, and Kali meant this. Perhaps when he said that there is a purpose even behind the creation of Kali. People will walk on evil paths and forget the Lord completely, and Kali helps them in this by bringing about suffering. But the backsliding is really to save the soul. When they are hurt and sorely tried, they will turn their minds towards the Lord and be saved. This is what Kali means when he says, evil is but the shadow of the good. Now, one more story and we stop for this session. Enough of Vedanta. So we'll go into a small story. This is the Bhagavad. When you are sinking in Vedanta, then comes a story. Once King Parikshit went hunting. While chasing a deer, he lost his way. Overcome with thirst, hunger and fatigue, he wandered about. Finally, he saw an ashrama in the distance. He hurried towards it. He went inside and shouted for someone. The king found the place to be empty, or so he thought. Walking around the place, he found a rishi who was absorbed in meditation. His eyes were closed. He had brought his senses and his breath under control, and he was oblivious to the world around him. He was deeply absorbed in meditation. He had controlled his mind and his breath, and therefore he was unaware of anything outside. His hair was matted and he was wearing the skin of a deer. The king spoke to him and asked him for water. He received no response. Again and again he asked for water. And he found that the rishi sat quiet, with his mind clouded by his physical anguish, thirst, and his ego hurt by the seeming indifference of the rishi to the king. The king lost his temper, even Parikshit. Just imagine. It's a warning to everybody. Don't think I am free of anger and all that. It can come at any time. It will come when people don't listen to you, or don't respect you. You have to watch carefully this anger business. It comes up suddenly, you never know when it comes. Even Parikshit got angry. He said, "What is this? I asked for water so many times. I'm thirsty, I'm the king." Is he deaf? He didn't know that he was in Samadhi. What did the king do? He looked around and found a dead snake lying on the ground. In a perverse frame of mind, Parikshit lifted the dead snake with his arrow. In a perverse frame of mind, he placed it on the neck of the rishi. He walked away from there. Still, the great rishi, whose name was Shamika, did not wake up from his trance. He was not aware. King went off. Shamika had a young son by name Shringi. Some of his playmates went to Shringi and said, "You think so highly of yourself, but you must swallow your pride hereafter. Since you are, after all, the son of a man who carries dead animals on his neck." So Shringi wondered what they were saying. How am I the son of someone who carries dead animals on his neck? I am the son of a great rishi. Shringi glared at them. Laughingly they told him about the condition. Go to the hermitage. Your father, there's a dead snake hanging around his neck, placed by the king of the country as a sign of respect. Young Shringi's anger was uncontrollable. He said, "This arrogant king has insulted my father." The rishi didn't say a word. The son got angry. He said, "This arrogant king has insulted my father. I will punish him. A week from today, the great dread serpent Daksha will sting him and he will die." A curse was pronounced. He then rushed to his father's presence and cried loudly and wailed around him. His voice aroused the rishi from Samadhi. He opened his eyes and saw the dead snake on his shoulder. He pushed it aside casually and he said, "My son, why are you crying? Did anybody hurt you?" Shringi told him what had happened, and he also told him about his cursing the king. Shamika was very upset with his son for this hasty action. In his anger, he had cursed a good man. This is the thought process of the rishi. He said, "You're young and you do not know how to restrain yourself. You are too rash. Why did you curse that king, who is the best among men that we have? Do you not know that he is a righteous king? because he was hungry and thirsty, and again because I did not answer his questions, he threw the snake on my neck in sheer disgust. It was a childish gesture and should have been treated as such. This is not reason enough to pronounce such a dreadful curse on him. This Paurava king has been called Vishnuratha since the Lord himself protected him when he was in his mother's womb. The Rishi knows all that, poor fellow Shringi did not know. Because of him the world is protected from the threat of Kali. You have made the earth lose her very precious son because of your impulsiveness. I ask you to leave this place and perform tapasya until you have learned self-control. He did not tell him, Sabash, Shringi, तुमने ठीक किया. हाँ, रोल्स रॉयस में गया और 2 आदमी के ऊपर चला दिया, बहुत अच्छा काम. He did not say that. He said, go and do tapasya. Have remorse for what you've done and come back. Now that you have cursed him, the good king will have to die. Let me at least warn him of his impending doom and give him a chance to prepare himself for the other world. The king, in the meantime, returned to his kingdom. He was feeling unhappy about his stupid action. He knew that he had committed an unpardonable sin. When he was in this frame of mind, there came to him a disciple of Shamika by name Gauramukha, who told him, King, let me inform you, Shringi has cursed you this way. Daksha will bite you in 7 days. So this is the genesis of the Bhagavat, what is going to come. How it started. On the banks of the sacred Ganga. Trained as he was in the path of Dharma, and being a worthy descendant of the religious-minded Pandavas, the king was not unhappy at the turn of events. He lost interest in the things of the world and welcomed death, which was to him a fitting punishment for his unpardonable behavior towards Shamika. King Parikshit crowned his son Janmeja as the king, and abandoning his princely garments, he made a journey to the banks of the river Ganga. There he spread holy kusha grass on the ground and sat down on it. He had decided on prayopavesha, which means fasting unto death with the mind filled with the thoughts of the Lord. He began preparations for the end, which to him seemed like a new adventure to something new. Many great rishis came to his side when he was sitting on the banks of the river. Atri, Vashishta, Chavana, Shraddhavan, Brigu, Angiras, Parakshara, Vishwamitra, the son of Gati, Parashurama, the son of Jamadagini, Vyasa, accompanied by Narada, everybody came to him. Looking on this galaxy of great men, Parikshit was thrilled beyond words. So, Shringi's curse actually was a blessing in disguise for Parikshit. How would he expect in the same place all these great rishis coming to see him on the banks of the Ganga? Looking on this galaxy of great men, Parikshit was thrilled beyond words. He received them with great excitement and joy, and he spoke to them humbly after honoring them. He said, without doubt, mine is great good fortune. What good actions have I performed in my previous birth that you should all have come to visit me together. Now that you have come, please bless me to leave this body and join the feet of the Lord. This Rishi Putra, who has cursed me, has in reality been my benefactor, since he has made me reach out for the next world in the presence of great beings like you. I have renounced the world and am ready to meet death, which is imminent. I have but one request. Please let my ears drink in the praises of the Lord during the 7 days which must pass before I reach him. This is the origin of the Bhagavat Saptah, 7 days, Saptah. Somebody asked me, Bhagavat Saptah is for 4 days, is it? I said, Saptah means 7, my dear. Oh, I said. So, Rishi said, descendants as you are of the Pandavas, princes who have renounced the world when Krishna died, it is not surprising that you should follow in their footsteps. This, your decision, is laudable. The king said, I have but one question to ask you. What is the course of action to be adopted by one who is on the point of death, so that he can be assured of becoming free and sinless? The rishis pondered on the question. Some spoke of yajna, some spoke of yaga, some spoke of yoga. Some thought that tapasya was the best course. Others said dana, giving away, charity. No one could say anything definite. All the paths seemed plausible, but the king was fighting against time. And what could be done in 7 days was indeed a forza. 7 days was so short. As for dana, the king had already given away everything he had. Tapas was out of question, there was no time. Yaga had to be abandoned, the same reason as also yoga. When they were talking this among themselves, there came to them Sukadeva, the young son of Vyasa. Glowing like a heap of gold, he appeared before them, clothed in his own glory, which means no clothes. This was indeed a great event. Even the rishis stood up as one man and honored Sukadeva. Parikshit fell at his feet with tears in his eyes and said, next session. No, this is how when you write, you leave. It's called tip of the iceberg, according to Ernest Hemingway. So, everybody in? चाय पी के जल्दी आइए, ये कुछ अमृत पान हो रहा है. Okay, Hari Hari. So we came to that part while they were talking among themselves, there came Sukadeva, the young son of Vyasa, glowing like a heap of gold. He appeared before them, clothed in his own glory. They say that when he was very young, as soon as he was able to speak, the first word that Sukha uttered was Hari, Hari. And then someone said, a boy is born to Vyasa. So he threw away his clothes and said, I am neither. Then they did the Upanayanam for me. He said, not required. I have abandoned everything. So, there's also a story in the Puranas. Once upon a time, can you hear me? Am I too soft? Once upon a time, there were a group of beautiful young damsels bathing in the river, happily sporting in the river. When they heard Vyasa coming, and they peeped and saw the great Vedavyas coming. Immediately they ran and hid themselves because they were naked, bathing in the waters. And then he passed. After a while, they heard the sound of Hari, Hari, and they knew that Sukadeva is coming, the young Sukadeva. They didn't hide themselves. They said, it is okay. He himself has no clothes. He has no distinguishing characteristics. He's like us. We're not hiding. So Sukadeva came and they also said, from the water, Hari, Hari. And he said, Hari, Hari. This is the comparison between Vyasa and Sukadeva. Please, young men, don't discard your clothes. So anyway, this was indeed a great event. The rishi stood up as one man and honored Sukha. Parikshit fell at his feet with tears in his eyes and said, I am fortunate, very fortunate. The Lord who protected me when I was in my mother's womb is still thinking of my good. Or else, could it happen that the great Sukha Brahma should grace the spot where a sinful man like me stands? When great souls like you visit our sinful abodes, you sanctify them so much that even we become as pure and as good as sadhus, worthy of worship. It is said that a house gets purified even by the thought of men like you. What about a spot visited by you? You have come to me. Your blessed feet have trod the same ground where a sinful Kshatriya like me stands. You have graced the seat I have offered you by sitting on it. Great indeed is my good fortune, who has the great Sukha Brahma by his side when I am so near my death. I will dare to ask you to advise me as to the right path to be pursued by a person who is pursued by death and is very near death. Please tell me, my Lord, what should I do now to reach the feet of Narayan? There is no time. Sukha blessed him. he was seated after him, and all the many rishis. Sukha said, I have come to you for the sole purpose of telling you about the glory of Narayana, which is the only recital worth hearing in 7 days. My revered father had composed the Bhagavata Purana, and I learnt it from him. I will tell you the story of the Lord and make these 7 days the most glorious days of your life. This story will help you, not only you, but all those who will come hereafter. Consider the life of ordinary man on earth. They are caught in the web of bondage, attached to their homes, their children, their belongings. They don't know the science of self-realization. There are so many things to be learnt by men during this short stay in this world. Yet what do? Half life is lost in sleep. True, right? As for the other half, childhood and youth steal away most of it. One becomes involved in worldly pressures, and then the pain resulting from it, from attachment. Human being never pauses to think of the truth that death is awaiting. Every day you see death around. You will never consider yourself to be mortal. You will never reckon the quick passage of time which carries you nearer and nearer to death every moment. And so for one who desires mukti from the world of bondage, there is one easy path available. That is thinking of the Lord at the end of one's life. Even rishis who have realized the Brahman delight in singing the praises of the Lord. There is no need to regret the number of years wasted in thinking of other things. Don't worry. Even a muhurta is enough to tide you over if you are sincere enough. There was a king by name Katvanga. He came to know that he had just one muhurta more to live. This was when he was in the heavens with the devas, not even on earth. Katvanga at once renounced the heavens and rushed to the earth. He sat in meditation for one muhurta and reached the feet of the Lord, which means he abandoned even the joys of Devaloka and came back so that he can reach. You, my dear Parikshit, you still have 7 whole days to spend in this very pleasant task, thinking of the Lord. I will help you to concentrate on Him. Then Sukha, before going into other things, is explaining the process. When death draws near, one should cast off the fear of death. With the sword of renunciation, one should sever all ties that bind one to relatives and worldly objects. He should leave his house, and having bathed in the holy waters, he should sit down for meditation. I will describe the technique to you. The problem is, you heard the story of Narada, right? His only bondage was his mother. When she passed away, he didn't go looking for another mother. He said, this is God's work, she's gone, all bondage is lost, let me go towards moksha. What happens to ordinary human beings? One is gone, then they try to find someone else. And it goes on endlessly till there is no release. So, he says, when death nears, like Shankara said, nahi nahi rakshati dukhrana karane, bhaja govindam, govindam bhaja mudamate. Who said this? The top teacher of Vedanta. Samprapte sannihite kale, your death is coming so close. Nahi nahi rakshati dukhrana karane. All these grammatic arguments and constructions are not going to help. What to do? Fool! Chant the name of Govinda, I said. Mudamate. I'm not saying. Maybe I am all myself a mudha, who knows. So here is the description. He said, steady the mind with the help of pranayam. Repeat the mystic word Om. When the mind is controlled by you, it should then become steadfast. Saying breathe in and out, calm your breath. Chant the pranava. The intellect should be the charioteer which should hold the reins and steer the mind towards contemplation on the Lord. The mind should not be allowed to stray towards the objects of the senses. Ashtanga yoga is the preliminary yoga for concentrating on the form of the Lord. Ishvara pranidhana. That is the definition of yoga. Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara pranidhana. Iti kriya yoga is the definition by Patanjali. But many people leave out that Ishvara pranidhana, other things. Morning we are doing yoga every day. Legs up, head down. And then quickly we become teachers of yoga. And then we don't like other teachers of yoga. Human life. So anyway, steady the mind with the help of pranayam. Repeat the mystic word Om. When the mind is controlled by you, it should then become steadfast. Intellect should be the charioteer which should hold the reins and steer the mind towards contemplation on the Lord. The mind should not be allowed to stray towards the objects of the senses. Ashtanga yoga is the preliminary yoga for concentrating on the form of the Lord. This yoga is made up of 8 qualities which should be part of you. First, yama niyamas. Ahimsa, not hurting anyone or anything. Satyam, truthfulness. Satyat nasti paro dharma. Then, asteyam, not stealing what belongs to others. Brahmacharya, leading a life of perfect control. Aparigraha, not receiving gifts from anyone. Saucham, inner and outer cleanliness. Tapas, rigorous practice of meditation. Swadhyaya, study of the scriptures, understanding all that you have learned. These 8 are the requisites for the next step. This is called Dharana. These steps, according to Sukha, are Dharana, which leads to dhyana. With a steady mind, you should visualize the form of the Lord. The mind should be pervaded by his form and by nothing else. Once this is achieved, the tamasic nature will no longer delude you, nor will the rajasic nature ensnare you into worldly activities. Once you have mastered the correct posture and correct breathing according to the rules of pranayama, once you have broken away from the bondage and snare of the attractions of the earth, then only will you be able to do dharana. Holding the form of the Lord firmly in the mind, think of the Virata Purusha. This is dharana. This form comprises the past, the present and the future. All the actions which have taken place, which are happening and which are to happen hereafter are all comprised by the Virata Purusha. This Virata Purusha is enveloped by the 7 avaranas: Prithvi, the earth; Apas, the water; Tejas, the fire; Vayu, the air; Akasha, ether; Ahamatva and Mahatattva. This Virata Purusha has Patala as the soles of its feet, what we call hell. Patala is that realm where the soles of your feet are touching. So where is Patala? Rasatala are his feet, Mahatala are his heels, Sutala are his knees, Vitala and Sthala are his thighs, and Bhutala is his waist. It's all in the Lord, that's what they're trying to say. All the worlds are comprised in the Virata Purusha. And so on. The sky is his stomach. We'll skip that. We don't have to go into the details up to the nails. The Rudra, the deity called Rudra, is his ego. Pure ego. Swayambhu Manu is his intellect. The Gandharvas, the Charanas and the Apsaras are the musical notes and the Smritis. These are the words from the Vedas which describe the Virata Purusha. Concentrate on this Lord. Those who have mastered this should then invoke the form of the Lord and see it in their hearts. Some see the form of Narayana lying on the immense snake called Ananta. When the mind is stilled and hushed by concentration, one can see this form. After this is achieved, life leaves the body easily and reaches the Lord. Before this last stage, Dharana, man should spend all his life doing what? Listening to the stories of the Lord. Human beings' ears are just holes in the head if they do not use them to drink in the praises of Narayana. Can as well close it. As for the tongue, if it does not sing the glories of Narayana, it is no different from the tongue of a frog which croaks during the rainy season. Well, if you combine it with some who have a voice like that, it's really like... The head is but a burden if it does not bend at the feet of Narayana. The hands, beautiful with many bejeweled bracelets and perfumed with sandal paste, will still be just the arms of a corpse if they do not worship Narayana with flowers. The eyes which do not drink in the beauty of his image are like the eyes on the plumage of the peacock. The feet which do not travel to holy spots are like the roots of a tree. When one does not take the dust of the holy feet of holy men and wear it on his head, one is no better than a corpse. If the body does not thrill when it hears the glories of the Lord. If the eyes do not get dim with tears when his heart is made of stone, unfortunate is one who is made that way. Even such a one finds salvation if at the end of his life, at least, thinks of Narayana and the stories. And so, Parikshit, I will relate to you the entire Bhagavata Purana during these 7 days, and you can rest assured that because of you, mankind will benefit in the days to come. Then Sukha invoked Lord Narayana in his mind. He then saluted Vyasa, his father, who was the author of the poem, and then began to recite the great Purana called Bhagavatam. So it is Sukadeva who is actually teaching the Bhagavatam, nobody else. We're only repeating. Tomorrow I might skip a little bit of cosmos and creation and so on and go to more interesting things, if you don't mind. Anyway, the next session, the tragedy at Prabhasa. When Vidura left Hastina on the fateful day, he made up his mind to visit all the holy rivers of Bharatavarsha. He wanted to bathe in the tirthas which had been sanctified by the feet of Narayana. He went to Vrindavana and rested his weary soul in the shelter of Govardhana, the hill which was dear to Krishna. Not far from here. Vidura found a resemblance of peace in his troubled mind when he thought of Krishna and the childhood of Krishna which had been spent here. Bhishma had told him that Krishna was Narayana himself. Tears flowed from the eyes of Vidura when he thought of the good fortune of Govardhana hills and its slopes where Krishna wandered at will during those days when he had not yet been saddled with the responsibilities that burdened him now. Even though he was Lord incarnate, Krishna had to be like one of the many who had come to protect, and with a smile of joy lit the face of Vidura at the thought of Krishna. After a few days at Vrindavana, Vidura proceeded northwards. He visited many tirthas and several kshetras. At the end of his long travel, he reached Prabhasa Tirtha, the favorite spot of Krishna. There, he heard about the annihilation of the family of Dhritarasthra and about Yudhishthira being the lord of the world, protected as he was by the armor of detachment. Still, Vidura's heart was touched with sorrow, and quietly he walked towards the banks of the river Saraswati. From there, he visited several other tirthas again and came to the banks of Yamuna. There he met Uddhava, who was a playmate of Krishna. Such a long time passed since they had met. They were locked in a close embrace and tears were flowing from their eyes. Vidura composed himself and said, "What a great moment for me. I have met you after so many years. Tell me, how is Krishna? And how is the valiant Balarama? How is everyone at Dwaraka? Is Satyaki still as fierce as he used to be? How is Pradyumna? Tell me about them. It is ages since I heard of them and their welfare. I have been away visiting the tirthas. I am eager to know all about everything. I heard that Yudhishthira is now the Lord of the world. I left Hastina long ago, driven from there by the son of my brother, as you must have heard. I have been wandering all over the place. I have been far away from the cities. I know that Narayana came into the world of men in the guise of a human being to establish dharma and to destroy the kings whose arrogance was unbearable. These kings were afflicted with three kinds of madas. What is mada? Not mada, pride. These kings had three kinds of prides. One was vidya mada, proud of their knowledge. Second was dhana mada, that means proud of their wealth. The third was kula mada, proud of their families. One of them is enough to turn the head of everyone. And if all three are found in one man, is there any doubt as to the high degree of pride and sinfulness? The world was full of such kings, and the Lord destroyed every one of them. Now he must be resting after performing the immense task. Tell me how he is enjoying his leisure in Dwaraka. How is Krishna and how are the other Yadavas? Uddhava was silent for a moment. His mind went back to the days he had spent with Krishna ever since he was a boy. They might have come here also and played, maybe. Then Uddhava was lost to the world of men for one moment. His eyes were wet with joy at the thought of the remembered things of long ago. With a start, he came back to the world. Wiping his eyes, he said, "My friend, your questions make me sad. How can I answer them? Krishna is no more." Vidura stood stunned. He could not comprehend the words of Uddhava. Looking at him, Uddhava smiled sadly and said, "It is true. Krishna is gone. The glory of the earth vanished when Krishna died. And it grieves me to think of the ignorance of the Yadu house, who themselves could not see Krishna as the avatar of Narayana." You know, Vidura, when the moon is reflected in the sea, the fish living in the water do not realize that it is not the moon. They think that it is another fish which has come to stay with them. Even so, the Yadavas thought that Krishna was one of them. They knew that he was greater than them, wiser than them. So they called him the best of the Yadavas. That is all. They are all dead, every one of them. No one lives except me. But how? Asked Vidura. How come they are all dead? Tell me everything. Once, began Uddhava, the youngsters of the Yadava house had offended some of the rishis who had come to Dwaraka. This is the genesis of it. They dressed up Shamba, Jambavati's son, as a woman and asked the rishis if she would bear a son or a daughter. The angry rishi said, she will bear an iron pestle which will be the destruction of your whole clan. They went to the rishis trying to make fun of them, the Yadava youngsters. I think they are pranksters, I don't know. They dressed up one of the boys as a woman, Samba, Jambavati's son. And they went to the rishis and said, this girl, will she give birth to a boy or a girl? The rishis thought this is a crude joke. So they said, she will give birth to an iron pestle. You know what's an iron pestle? P-S-T-L-E. Shamba did give birth to an iron pestle. Or rather, when they removed the disguise, they found an iron pestle. The children were horrified. The boys, they went to Balarama and Krishna with the entire story. Balarama was angry. He made them grind the pestle into powder and throw it into the sea. He forgot all about it. Balarama forgot all about it. For Balarama to grind the pestle, it may not require any instrument. And he threw it into the sea. And forgot all about it. But Krishna did not forget it. He remembered everything from the beginning of time till what is going to come. At the end of the war at Kurukshetra, Duryodhana's mother, the saintly Gandhari, was very angry with Krishna because she felt that he was solely responsible for the war. In a way, true. Like a bamboo forest is destroyed by the fire caused by itself, the Kuru clan was destroyed. And what was the fire? Jealousy. So watch out for jealousy. One disease which has no cure, almost. And it's not even logical, but it is so. You are happy and I am unhappy. I don't know why. This is jealousy. Your Nama is better than mine, so I am. In my native state, we say, Kashandikum kushumbinu marinilla. That means there is no medicine for baldness and jealousy. Don't trust all those advertisements. You'll never grow your hair. Right? Don't waste money. Ask Warren Buffett. So, like a bamboo forest is destroyed by the fire caused by itself, the Kuru family was destroyed. The fire being jealousy, said Krishna. But the royal mother would not be convinced. She told Krishna, your family will also be destroyed by itself. Krishna bent his head and with folded palms he received the curse. With a smile he said, Mother, it is a blessing, not a curse. Two ways of looking at a thing. Years passed. Krishna knew the moment had come. He suggested that the entire family should go to Prabhasa and spend some time there. So they went, a happy crowd. One day, they went to the place where in Kali Yuga, Kali is always sitting. They were all drunk. And overcome with intoxication. They did not know what they were saying or what they were doing. This is what happens, right? Even men who bleat like goats, after 2 scotches start roaring like lions. And so, intoxicated, they began to quarrel with each other. Insults were hurled at each other. Matter of moments, the quarrel became violent. They were killing each other. And they found that they did not have many weapons. What could they do? They picked up handfuls of the reeds growing along the shore of the sea and hit each other with it. The reeds had all sprung up from the powdered pestle that Balarama had thrown into the river. Each reed became as powerful as an astra, and the entire family of the Yadavas, Bhoja and Andaka clans was gone, annihilated in a matter of moments. Krishna walked away from them, and I found him seated at the foot of an Ashwatha tree, peepal tree. I told him that I would also go along with him, Uddhava. But he asked me to go to Badrika Ashrama, so you go. I refused. And I said, Krishna, I will not live in this world without you. You have always been by my side. Please take me with you. Then the great sage Rishi Maitreya came. And Krishna looked at me and said, you must listen to me, Uddhava. You cannot come with me. You have a mission to perform. I will teach you the truth. I will teach you the Brahma Vidya. You must travel all over the world and teach it to those who do not know how to reach me. He taught the great lesson to me and asked me to leave him. After I left, Krishna sat in a yogic posture and went into a trance. He had assumed the Padmasana, and his left foot was placed on his right thigh. A hunter at a distance saw his left foot resting on the thigh. The pink foot as pink as a rose, and the yellow silk created the illusion that it was a deer. The hunter took aim and sent an arrow. Arrow entered the foot of Krishna. And he breathed his last in the yogic trance. I am on my way to Badri. Seems interesting that everybody goes to Badrinath. Vidura was listening with tears flowing unheedingly from his eyes. He looked at Uddhava piteously and said, please teach me the lesson which was taught by Krishna. You know how sorely I need it. Uddhava said, I am not the person to teach you, my friend. It is Maitreya, which is why he has come. Krishna asked me to tell you that you should go to the ashram of Maitreya and learn the Brahma Vidya from him. Please seek him out and learn from him. After a tender leave-taking, Uddhava went in the direction of Badrika Ashrama in the north. Badrika Ashrama, where Nara and Narayana had performed tapas long ago. Vidura travelled towards the banks of the Ganga where sage Maitreya had his ashrama. He went there. After saluting the rishi, Vidura told him about the meeting he had with Uddhava and said, I have come to you to learn the lesson which the Lord taught to Uddhava. I was told that you will be good enough to tell me. It is the wish of Krishna that I should learn it from you. Maitreya said, I am happy you have come. Tell me what is troubling you and I will clear all your doubts. Vidura said, "Wise one, I have lived in this world all these years and have lived in the midst of different people. I have known good men, I have lived with bad men, but different as they are in every characteristic, they're all alike in one thing. People, I have noticed, perform actions with one desire only, which is happiness. Strangely enough, their sorrow, pain, and not pleasure is the root that they reap out of their actions, even though they desire happiness." I asked myself, is there no way of avoiding this? What light can be thrown on this problem, which has been teasing me since so many years? What should one do in order to avoid pain, the pain which results from actions? I thought that I had finally found the answer to my question. Listening to the stories of the Lord and thinking only of Him helps solve this problem. People like you, my Lord, who have been devotees of Narayana in this world, with only one purpose, to lead erring humanity towards God, to tell them the story of the Lord, of His glories, and lead him in the path of devotion. Please teach me, and through me teach the world in general the path to God. We have great pleasure in listening to the story. The great Vyasa taught us the Mahabharata. In relating the story to us, he has taught man about the rules of conduct. Vyasa has taught us that attachment to things of the world leads to pain. He has taught us many things about dharma, but we want more. We want to drink in the praises of Narayana. Please relate to me the story of the many avatars of Narayana. Tell me about the many acts which were performed as a result of which the world has been purified again and again. Maitreya smiled his appreciation and said, "It is but meet that you should ask these questions of me, since you are the incarnation of Dharma yourselves. I am very pleased with you. I will be only too happy to relate the entire story of the Lord. I will begin from where it all began. It was after the great deluge, Pralaya. The entire world was submerged within the waters. Narayana was absorbed in Yoga Nidra after the Mahapralaya, which means the great destruction. He was reclining on the great serpent Adishesha. The entire universe had been withdrawn into him, and it lay dormant in him like fire in a piece of dry wood. The three gunas were in equilibrium, and therefore there was no action. All of us, inanimate and animate, have the three gunas in different proportions: sattva, rajas and tamoguna. The whole world moves because one or the other is not in unison with the other. This is the secret of life. Sometimes rajas is more, sometimes tamoguna is more, sattva guna is more or less. This is life. When everything ends or before everything begins, all the gunas are in equilibrium. No movement up or no movement down. It's all established in what some teachers, some teachings call as complete Shivam, total peace, total auspicious peace with no manifestation, whatever. The three gunas were in equilibrium and therefore there was no action. It was like that for a long time. Then Kala, time, caused a disturbance in the three gunas. And the balance got changed. Out of the navel of Narayana emerged a thin stalk which was a manifestation of Rajoguna, action. Action comes from it. Just as there is a macrocosm, it is all reflected in the microcosm. Not here, here also. Hmm? So action starting in the navel. This is the center of movement of rajas. Desire, anger, everything comes from this. A thin stalk, which was a manifestation of Rajoguna, appeared from Narayana's navel. This grew into an immense lotus and it illumined everything around. Into the lotus entered Narayana in another form, which was Brahma. Now the whole story of the Bhagavat is that there is only one Narayana, one Supreme Being, different manifestation. This is key to understanding the Bhagavat. There is no different one. This grew into an immense lotus and it illuminated everything around. Into the lotus entered Narayana, another form, which was Brahma. Considering himself to have been born on his own, Swayambhu, considering himself as born by himself, Brahma found himself to be well versed in the Vedas and he found that he was alone. Nobody there. He looked around him in all four directions with eyes wide open and found that he had four heads pointing in four directions. He saw nothing but a large expanse of water all around him. And the noise he heard was made by the waves of the sea. He looked down and found that he was seated on a lotus and could not figure out where the beginning of the stalk was, Brahma. He entered the stalk and travelled downwards, but found nothing at the end of it. He came back to his original place, and around him the waters made a noise, and it seemed to him as if the noise was tapa, tapa, tapa. Tapa means heat. It also means tapasya. Tapasya means heat, generate heat. Perform tapasya and you will find what you seek. Brahma performed tapasya seated in the lotus for 100 years, absorbed in self-contemplation. All of a sudden he saw the form of Narayana in his mind. The Lord was reclined on the Adishesha, who was white like the stalk of a lotus. Brahma then realized that this was the Purusha. The moment he saw the Lord, he got his wisdom. He knew what he had to do. He was made to come out of the lotus to create a new world. He worshipped Narayana with the words which came to him without his being taught anything. Narayana said, I have set you the task of creating the world and the beings on it. Brahma said, so be it. Out of the mind of Brahma were born the four rishis, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara. The first four rishis, mind born. When they were born, Brahma said, take up the work of creation and multiply. The four rishis were bent on attaining salvation at the feet of the Lord, so they refused to take up any creation. They said, what? We are not interested. Let us stay here at your feet and enjoy. Brahma was angry with them, but he controlled his anger. Though his reason held it in check, his anger took up a form and emerged out of his forehead. It was a child, reddish blue in hue, and he began to cry as soon as he was born. Please give me a name and a place where I can stay. This was its complaint when it came out. We all have this complaint, right? You don't know my name? Give me a name. Then next, give me a place to stay. Cried the newborn. And Brahma said, do not cry. Since you cried the moment you were born, I will call you Rudra. The heart, the senses, the life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon and tapasya. These are the spaces allotted and assigned to you. You can go now and produce many in your images, in your image. Brahma then created 10 suns out of his body. These were Atri, Angirasa, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kritu, Bhrigu, Daksha, Marichi, Vashishta and Narada. Dharma and Adharma were also born of Brahma. Out of his heart was born desire, and out of his brow was born anger. His shadow took a form, and this sun, which is the shadow of Brahma, was named Kardama. From his mind and body was created this whole world, and yet he resides in it. Out of his 4 faces were born the 4 Vedas. Brahma then divided his body into 2. One male, the other female. Till then it's all one. There is no male, female. Then the male, female, he called one, the male Swayambhu Manu, and the female as the Shatarupa. These 2 produced 5 children. 3 were daughters, Akuti, Prasuti and Devahuti. The sons were Piyavrata and Uttanavada. Akruti was married to a rishi by name Ruchi. Devahuti to Kardama and Prasuti to Daksha. And the children of these, with their descendants, have populated the whole world. Not India, the whole world. We are talking about the universe, not about the geographical location. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Now, should we continue? Half an hour. Are you tired? Are you bored? Evening there is kirtan, you won't be bored. Okay. Section 22. This is the manifestation of the Lord as Varaha, wild boar. So, in our system of thought, and the wild boar is also a form of the Lord. As soon as he was born, Swayambhu Manu approached his father and said, soon as he was born, he didn't leave any time. He approached his father and said, please command me as to what I should do and I will obey you. Brahma was very happy with the words of his son and he told him that the work of creation should be continued. I will do it, my lord, said Manu. But he continued, but please indicate to me the spot where my creations are going to live. I will create, but where are they going to live? I am prepared to take up the task of creation, but the earth has been submerged during the great Pralaya, deluge. She is now gone to the lower worlds, to the Netherlands. Not Netherlands. If you can get her back, then I will be able to do what you wish. He said, I will make the beings, but where will they stand? Give me the earth. The pralaya has taken everything down. She is down there. What do I do? Brahma was nonplussed, and he thought to himself, how is the earth to be brought up from the nether world? How is the work of creation to take place? Narayana, you commanded me to create it. Now you have to help me to solve the problem. He thought of Lord Narayana. As he was absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden, out of his nostrils jumped out a tiny boar the size of a fingernail. So Brahma sent in his prayer and he meditated on that. Suddenly from his right, if anything jumps out of your knife, right, take it in a tissue and who knows? Jumped out all of a sudden. The size of this boar was only as small as a fingernail. From the moment it was born, it assumed immense proportions. All those who were watching it realized that it was Narayana himself who had donned the form of a boar to raise the earth from below. The boar set up a roar which resounded in all directions, and it thrilled the hearts of the onlookers. There rose up a cry from them, and they all sang together the praises of the Lord, sniffing the air around him, sniffing the surface of the waters. The magnificent boar entered the ocean. So terrible and so sudden was the plunge that the ocean was heaving, unable to bear the burden. Swimming and running inside the water, the boar reached the bottom, and there it found the earth stuck. Raising it on his tusks, the boar began to rise up. His progress upwards and towards the surface of the ocean was very slow. An asura tried to stop his progress, but he was killed. The Varaha then continued his interrupted progress. Sanaka and his brothers, Brahma, Marichi and all others were watching with bated breath what is going to happen now. Even as they were looking, they saw the earth emerge from the water. Varaha or no Varaha, the earth did emerge from the water. Bear in mind, you may not have seen the Varaha. Even as they were looking, they saw the earth emerge from the water, and Varaha was bearing it on his tusks. He placed the earth on the dens formed by his hoofs, and Brahma with the others praised him and his glory. They said, "You are the Lord of the Lords, who is worshipped by all men in the form of yajna. Your form is made up of all the four Vedas. We salute Narayana, who has assumed the form of Varaha. Your skin is made up of Gayatri and other chandas. The hair on your body is named Barhis. Your eyes are Ajja. The right by name Chaturhotra is made up of your four legs. It is not given to anyone to see this sacred form of yours." They then compared each individual part of his body as an essential for performing the yajna. And they continued, "We are grateful to you. This earth was lifted up by your tusks and it looks so beautiful. She looks like a lotus that has been lifted aloft on the trunk of an elephant. We salute you and thank you for restoring the earth to restoring, not creating. It's all cyclical, goes, comes, goes, comes. The spots where your hair has been shed have become holy, fit places for performing yajnas. We pray that your kind and benevolent eyes will ever rest on us. The Lord paused for a while listening to their words. He's done his job, so he vanished from their sight. Vidura intervened and said, "My Lord, it is thrilling to hear about this ancient incident, but tell me, who was this Asura who tried to stop you from raising the world up? I have heard that Narayana, in the form of a boar, killed an Asura by name Hiranyaksha. Was this him? Tell me how it came about that the Lord himself had to appear to kill a mere Asura." Maitreya said, "We have to travel a long distance back to trace the story of Hiranyaksha." So we are moving towards Hiranyakashipu slowly. We've just come from Varaha. The next section, very nice story. Diti, who is Daksha's daughter. 13 of the daughters of Daksha had been given to the Rishi Kashyapa, the son of Marichi. Diti was one of them. Once when it was evening time, Diti came and stood by the side of her husband. When you are meditating, it happens, you know. Once in the evening time, Diti came and stood by the side of her husband. He had just finished the evening worship of fire by pouring milk into it. Diti was full of love and longing, and she wanted him to take her. She spoke with him in a soft, gentle voice and said, "It's better than many movies." The only thing is, the whole focus is on Narayana. That's the only main difference. She said to him in a gentle voice, "My Lord, my body is burning with love for you. Please make me happy by granting me my desire. The suffering caused by the God of love is unbearable." He did not speak a word in reply. It's a wrong time to get caught in discussions, right? He did not speak a word in reply, and she said, "Please have mercy on me and massage this pain." Kashyapa looked at her beautiful form, and her eyes were liquid with love and longing. He looked at her kindly and said, "Certainly I will make you happy, my beloved wife. A wife is the raft with which man crosses the ocean called life. With the right raft, of course. She is the one who stays with him during his happy days and also his days of pain. She walks in the path of dharma with him. She is his sahadharmachari and she is his very life. When she is married, a woman is called Jaya because she is born again in the heart of her husband, where she is given a place of honor. You are very dear to me, but please, after flattering this much, please do not ask me to take you now. Look, it is evening time. The sun has just withdrawn his scorching rays, And with a chastened look, he is wheeling away towards the west. This is hallowed time. This is the time of the day which is sacred to Mahadeva. This is when he promenades on a sacred bull with all the Pramatha gang attending on him. This is the hour when he watches the world with his three eyes, the sun, the moon and the fire. With his body covered with ashes from the burning ground, with his matted locks glowing with the red dust scattered by the travelling breeze, with ashes whitening his golden body, this husband of your sister Sati, Aditi's, her sister is Sati, keeps watch on the world. This is the wrong time to do material things or make material love. It shows a lack of respect for the great Mahadeva. Wait for a while and I will satisfy you. Be patient. She would not listen. Angry at the thought of a desire which would be frustrated and bereft of her reasoning powers as a result of the torment of love, Diti importuned her lord repeatedly, and finally he had to take her to make her happy. He was a good man. When her reason came back to her, Diti remembered the warning of Kashyapa and said, "Overcome with love as I was, I became blind and deaf to my surroundings and to your words. I am afraid that I have insulted Lord Mahadeva. Please assure me that this child of mine, which is to be born, will not be destroyed by his anger. I supplicate before him and ask for his mercy. Please say that this sin of mine will be forgiven. Mahadeva is after all my sister's husband. He is sure to be compassionate. Please tell me what is going to happen. I am afraid." Kashyapa was silent for a long time. Finally, he looked at his wife, who was standing with downcast eyes, and said, "You have actually done a mistake. Your mind was filled with earthly desires when you came to me. Also, you didn't take my advice. And you have insulted Lord Mahadeva by this disrespect showed towards him. These three faults of yours cannot go unpunished. You will be the mother of two sons. Of course, you will have children, but you will be the mother of two sons who will be both wicked. They will harass the three worlds and the devas will suffer at their hands. They will try to destroy righteousness on the earth. So please watch out what you do at Sandhya. Holy men will be tortured and your sons will spell terror for the entire world until Lord Narayana decides to rid the world of his tormentors." Diti knew that it would all come to pass. She fell at his feet and said, "I have but one boon to ask of you, my lord. Let my sons be killed by the Lord himself." This is possible. Let them not die because of the curse of somebody else. The one that will really help them and grant them mukti is that they are killed by the Lord for their doings. Please, this is one prayer I have. Kashyapa said, any sin, any mistake will be lessened if one becomes penitent. You are now sorry for what happened. Good thing. You have honored Narayana by wanting him to be the death of your sons, and you have requested me and Mahadeva to forgive you. I therefore assure you that your sons will be killed by Narayana and no one else. He had that much capacity to say. And again, I will tell you something which will comfort you. Now this will be gladden your heart. Whatever be your sons, your grandson will be the greatest bhakta of Narayana. The world will ever praise his devotion to the Lord. They will remember him as long as the name of the Lord remains on the lips of men. Like gold is cleansed by being so well burnt that all the dross is destroyed, even so human beings will burn all their worldly desires to be like your grandson in their devotion to Narayana. He will be the ideal bhakta who will worship his beloved Lord day and night against all opposition, and he will reach Narayana when he sheds his body. He will have no attachments, he will be good-natured, he will be the home of courage and compassion. Without malice or anger, he will consider everyone to be like himself. He will have no enemies, and he will be like the moon which rains radiance and coolness of the world. With his gentleness, he will gladden the hearts of human beings. For his sake, the Lord will make an appearance. Your grandson will be one of the rare few who will see the Lord with human eyes. Diti knew that nothing could avert the fate that was to visit her sons because of her foolishness. There was no use in repenting, and she found a semblance of peace at the thought that her sons would meet their deaths at the heart of Narayana and no one else. And again the fact that her grandson will be a great good man comforted her, and she walked away from the presence of her husband with her head bent and her eyes full of tears. Should we continue? What's happening in Diti's womb? In her womb, the sons of Diti were growing rapidly. The poor woman was afraid for the devas of the world. They've been told that asuras are growing. She was worried about the devas. And so she tried to retain the children inside her and would not let them be born. She thought, if I let them out, what happens to the devas, these asuras? So she had the capacity to postpone her delivery. So they stayed inside her for how long? For 100 years. Then a wondrous thing happened. The glow of the unborn children was so great that the world became lusterless. They were glowing from inside. The whole world lost its light. The heavens themselves were losing their splendor, and even the devas looked less like sons of light than they were supposed to. Worried about the eclipse of their glory, the devas went to Brahma, the creator, asked him to explain the mystery. He smiled at them and said, there is nothing here for you to worry, not just now. At any rate, I will tell you the reason for this. Once, my sons, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara went to Vaikunta, the abode of Narayana. Brahma's four kids went on a picnic to Vaikunta, the most wonderful place to see. The abode of Narayana with a desire to worship him. They were about to enter Vaikunta and they were stopped. The rishis were prevented from going inside by two doorkeepers called Jaya and Vijaya. These two were the doorkeepers, and they stepped in front of the rishis and they said, "You cannot enter." The rishis looked for a moment at these two who were so handsome, so well dressed, and at the same time so arrogant. Unmindful of their words, the rishis walked towards the seventh gate and again tried to enter the sanctum. The keepers placed their staffs in front of them and said, "You cannot enter." The rishis were now definitely annoyed. Who are the rishis? Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara. They were annoyed. In their eyes could be seen traces of anger. And who is anger? Bhagavat says, the younger brother of desire. They looked at Jaya and Vijaya and said, "Indeed, it is strange that you, who have been in the presence of the Lord for so long, should have this undesirable quality in you. We can see that your position by the side of the Lord has made you proud. We curse you to leave the presence of Narayana. You will be born in the world of men, in the world ruled by desire and anger, pride and all other evils. You will be far away from Narayana, whose nearness, this can also happen, whose nearness has blinded you to such an extent that you insult good men. Now this can also happen. Overcome with horror at the fate awaiting them, Jaya and Vijaya fell at their feet and prayed for forgiveness. The rishis were sorry for them, but they said, "We cursed you since we felt that you both deserved it. But we'll modify it for you. We cannot take it back. We can modify it for you. Your births will be such that the Lord will dwell in your hearts all the time." How? Because you will hate Him all the time. Huh? Your births, the modified curse, your births will be such that the Lord will dwell in your hearts all the time because you will hate Him all the time. The two placed their hands on their ears and said, "Shantam Papam," and exclaimed, "Hatred of the Lord? How can this be possible?" And tears rained down from their eyes. Now while all this was going on, Narayana broke protocol and appeared. Lord Narayana appeared at that moment. The rishis worshipped him. The two men held on to his feet and would not get up. The feet of the Lord were drenched with their tears. He asked them to rise up. He looked at the young rishis and said, "These servants of mine have insulted you, unaware of your greatness. It is but right that you should have cursed them. Okay? I approve of your action. Any fault of a servant reflects on the master. And so, since they are my employees, on their behalf, I beg you to pardon me." Narayana. He didn't come out and say, "Get out." Beg you to pardon me. No one is more dear to me than a bhakta. And then what bhakta is insulted, I am very angry myself. Let them be born in the lower world as you have ordained, but they will come to me later. Let's have a compromise. slightly ashamed of themselves for their short temper and the hasty curse which they had pronounced on the young men whom the Lord obviously loved so much. The rishis were confused as to whether the Lord was reprimanding them for the lack of control. Knowing what was passing in their minds, Narayana said, "Please don't be upset. I really do approve of this entire incident." Why? I am the man who's doing the drama, right? Okay. Relieved by the reassuring words of the Lord, rishis worshipped him and went away. Narayana turned to Jaya and Vijaya and said, "I can retract the curse of the rishis, but I will not do so. The curse of great rishis should not be ignored. Both of you must be born in the world of men. You will have 3 janmas, 3 births in one. Krodha will be the cause of your downfall. Anger will be the cause of your downfall. In the next, kama or lust, desire will overshadow your actions. And in the third, mada, pride will rule your actions. But let me assure you of one thing. You will be killed by me, and only by me. Nobody else can kill you. So you will finally come back to me. You will hate me. Hate me with an inordinate hatred. That is also a yoga, in which you will think more of me than even some bhaktas. This Sambrahma Yoga will be your special privilege, and you will be granted release from the 3 janmas, which will last till the end of Dwapara Yuga, the 3rd quarter of time. The Lord vanished from their sight, and they descended to the earth. These servants of Narayana, concluded Brahma was saying the story, are lodged in the womb of Diti, and it is their glow which is eclipsing the glory of the earth and the heavens. There is no other reason for it. After 100 years, 2 sons were born to Diti. They were twins. Their father called them Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Their birth was attended by several evil omens, which indicated great calamity for the world. Now there is a big calamity going on inside my Manipura chakra, in the center. So when we come back in the evening, we will learn what happened to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And so therefore we'll learn the beautiful life of the great Prahalad. Narayana, Narayana. Hari Om.